Welcome back to the channel. Today we're exploring one of the most incredible spots in the Rocky Mountains. Let's get into it. Most people don't experience this place the right way. Here's what you need to know before you go.
This hike puts you on a narrow ridge with 1,000-foot drop-offs on both sides. And at certain points, the only thing keeping you steady is a chain bolted into the rock. Angel's Landing in Zion National Park isn't just a hike. It's one of the most mentally intense trails in the country. Every step requires focus, and every decision matters. People turn back here every single day, not because they can't physically do it, but because the exposure becomes too much. And that's what makes this hike different. It's not about distance or elevation, it's about how you handle the environment. The real question isn't whether you can reach the summit, it's whether you're willing to push through what it takes to get there. The hike to Angel's Landing begins at the Grotto Trailhead, where everything feels controlled and almost misleadingly easy at first. You cross a bridge over the Virgin River and step onto a paved trail that gradually begins to climb through the canyon. Early on, there is nothing that suggests how intense this hike will become later. The path is wide, the incline is manageable, and the environment feels calm. But that is exactly what makes this trail so deceptive. As you continue forward, the canyon walls begin to rise higher around you, creating a sense of scale that slowly builds with every step. The trail begins to pull you upward, almost without you noticing at first. This section is not designed to challenge you physically yet. Instead, it draws you in, sets the rhythm, and allows you to settle into the hike. It gives you just enough comfort to keep moving forward before the trail begins to reveal what it actually demands from you. As the trail continues, the climb becomes more noticeable, and the environment begins to shift around you. You move away from the river and start climbing directly into the canyon walls, entering shaded areas like Refrigerator Canyon, where the temperature drops and the air feels noticeably cooler. This section provides relief from the sun, but it also signals that the real hike is beginning. The incline becomes steeper, and the trail starts to wind more aggressively upward. You begin to feel the elevation gain building, and your pace naturally slows as the effort increases. This is where the hike transitions from something casual into something that requires attention and pacing. You start to realize that this trail is not going to stay easy. The terrain, the incline, and the environment all begin to work together, gradually increasing the difficulty without overwhelming you all at once. Walter's Wiggles is where the hike begins to challenge you in a much more direct and physical way. This section is a series of tight switchbacks carved directly into the rock, climbing aggressively up the canyon wall with very little break in between. Each turn gains elevation quickly, and the repetition can feel exhausting if you're not pacing yourself properly. The incline is constant, forcing you to stay controlled with your breathing and movement. There's no real place to stop and reset without breaking your rhythm, so you have to find a pace that you can sustain. As you climb higher, the views begin to open behind you, revealing the canyon stretching out further with every turn. This is where you start to see how far you've come, and it builds a sense of progress that keeps you moving forward. This section is not about fear yet, it's about endurance. It prepares your body for what's ahead before the trail begins to test your mindset. This is the moment where everything changes. Up to this point, the trail has been physical, but predictable. From here on out, it becomes something completely different. The path narrows, the exposure increases, and the environment forces you to stay fully focused. There's no more casual walking. Every step becomes intentional, and every movement matters. This is where hikers stop, hesitate, and decide whether they're going to keep going or turn back. Because once you move forward from here, the experience becomes something that demands your full attention. The final section of Angel's Landing is what makes this hike one of the most talked about and debated trails in the country. The trail narrows into a ridge with steep drop-offs on both sides, and chains are bolted into the rock to help guide you forward. Every step requires focus, and there is no room for distraction. The terrain is uneven, and the exposure is constant, meaning there is never a moment where you can fully relax. This is where the hike becomes more mental than physical. You will see hikers gripping the chains, moving slowly, carefully placing each step before committing to the next. Some people freeze here, overwhelmed by the exposure, while others push through and keep moving forward. The environment forces you to stay present. It forces you to stay controlled. And it forces you to decide whether you trust yourself enough to continue. Reaching the summit of Angel's Landing feels completely different from anything earlier in the hike. The narrow ridge opens into a wider space where you can finally stand still and take in the full scale of Zion Canyon. From this point, the views stretch across massive cliffs, winding canyon floors, and layers of rock that extend into the distance. The exposure that once felt overwhelming is replaced with a sense of perspective. You can see the entire path you climbed, the canyon below, and the terrain that surrounds you. After everything it takes to get here, the view feels earned in a way that is difficult to explain. It is not just about the scenery, it is about what it required from you to stand in this place. The focus, the effort, and the decisions all come together in this moment, creating something that stays with you long after the hike is over. If you are planning to hike Angel's Landing, preparation is critical. This trail is not just physically demanding, it requires focus and awareness the entire time. Start early to avoid crowds, because congestion on the chains can make the experience much more difficult. Bring enough water, especially since much of the trail is exposed to the sun. Wear shoes with strong grip, as the terrain becomes uneven near the top. Most importantly, know your limits. Many hikers turn around at the ridge, and that is always the right decision if the exposure feels overwhelming. Reaching the summit is optional. Staying safe is not. If this helped you plan your trip, hit subscribe, because we're breaking down the best trails in every national park.